Good evening, everyone. I'm so privileged to be in your various lives this evening. It's going to be a blast. I can't even wait to get my guests on board to soar and to fly. I say a lot of things about family system. Sometimes I talk like a broken record. Sometimes it's like, what's wrong with you? Are you the only one? What is your problem? I know what I am talking. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Thank you for joining. Thank you, everyone. I am so passionate and intentional about family system because everyone stems from a home. A pastor will not sleep on the pulpit. A doctor will not sleep in the hospital. A professor will not sleep in the classroom. A banker will not sleep in his banking hall. Everyone stems from a home. A child today is an adult tomorrow. A kidnapper today was a child yesterday. It's painful when parents don't understand and they don't know the weight and the gravity of having to be careless raising their children. They don't know. I've been teaching these over and over and over again, talking about it, and it's like, your own is too much. Your health is your relationship. Your wealth is your relationship. Your happiness is your relationship. The happiness of your children when you are frail and old is a child that is happy in her marriage, that will remember there is a grandma, there is a grandpa anywhere. We can't afford to be like a Desical and be casual about life as couple, as an individual, especially some of you that are still single. Hear me. A life partner is a life one. Sometimes it can be very, very painful when you have to be raised in a family system that is not healthy and you have so much to deliver. Most children that their lives had been truncated by the things. Oh dear Lord, I saw a video today and I cried. Actually, it messed up my mood this evening. 4 guys were raping a teenager. I don't want to cry. It's sad. The video is somebody's, because of my ministry phone, people push a lot of things to me and sometimes I don't want to watch. But this one, I watched it and I was crying. 4 boys. She was screaming 4 on a teenager. I wanted to judge that. What was she looking for there? And I just told myself, I said, parenting. I have a girl that is coming on Shimata's Upper Sunday because I have a guest now. Her father was sleeping with her. Sometimes because we don't discuss matters, because everybody is quiet and covert and you're trying to keep the secret, when you are from a dysfunctional home, don't talk, don't trust, don't feel. Everybody is numb. You don't even know what life has thrown at people, beating them back black and blue, turning them to become violent, aggressive, depressed, frustrated with life. And these are destinies. Somebody said we came to this world with nothing and we are going with nothing. It's not true. Every child brought what that child was going to become to this family that we are talking about. I'm happy today. At least you heard me over and over again and you say, this woman, somebody is here to tell us his reality and his story. So somebody said you are hearing from the horse's mouth. Better now. Because at times you don't even, you assume that, oh no, some of these things, they are cock and bull story. I'm just putting stories together. I don't have to. When somebody was asking me about question and answer, I said I have over 5,000 questions on my program. So I don't even have to look for questions. I have enough. I'm getting a little bit worked up. See the way I'm shouting. I'm shouting because I'm bringing a guest to the house today. Has his story and his reality. Sometimes we think that it's only girls that are exposed and vulnerable. Boys are also vulnerable. I think on Thursday I'm going to be talking about being sex-wise as parents. That's my passion. That's my pain. I knew where I came from. I aborted. The doctor said I can never be pregnant. Some of you, you've heard my stories here and there. If not for Calvary, if not for mercy. And look at what I came to this world to do. Potential has loaded. I've written 64 books. I'm writing 7,000 before I die. Let the devil go and commit suicide. I don't care. I came with so much, and it was truncated on the altar of separation and divorce. I know what I'm saying. No apologies. That's why if you are privileged to be hearing my heart and you still choose to live a reckless and a careless life, then it's your life. It's no more my business. Your blood is not going to be asked on my head, especially for the younger ones. I'm so intentional. I'm so intentional. I'm an intentional person. There's nothing I do in this life that I'm not deliberate about. I'm too conscious of destiny than any other thing. How many years are we going to live on earth? Max, I will live 100 years. And I don't want to, sorry. I don't want to be a nuisance. I want to be healthy till I cross to the other side. So, for how long? It is eternity that matters and counts. And when you are conscious of eternity, there are things you will do, there are things you will not do. My guest is here tonight, or whatever, you know, some of you are watching me from Canada. I'm still one of my lovely favorites somewhere there. Thank you, Diane, for joining tonight all over the world. So it depends on your time. But in Nigeria, where I am talking from tonight, is, what time is it? 9:07. My guest, he has chosen to have his face. Last week I had a guest, no face, no name, no identity. But it's still her story and her reality. But tonight I have a guest bold enough to shame the devil, bring it to the public. So you will know that we are not just trying to, you know, putty and panel beats and, you know, paint and, you know, conceal and put perfect powder and just make it look good. He went through it. It was his story and his reality. If you check my Instagram picture, you will see him there. He doesn't even mind to put his name. My story, my reality with Ayodeji. Yes, you are there. I've seen your face. I'm so happy. Good evening for that, Ayodeji.
Good evening,
you know,
Mommy.
he has made me to know that his mess is his message, his mess is his mandate, his mess is his ministry. And you know, I tell people, some of you, when you go through stuff, you are hiding it. Hear me, it's your past. If the devil reminds you of your past, you also remind him of his past. He was in heaven before, he sinned, he could not repent. You, when you see you can repent or be. Don't, you know, sometimes the devil likes, you are sick as you're secret. He wants you to keep covering up, you know, bottling up, and he's choking you with guilt, with condemnation. I'm so excited. I don't know how happy I feel like jumping from where I'm seated, but I'm not going to jump.
Thank you, ma.
Thank you, Mommy. Thank you so much for coming. My story, my reality. Good evening, welcome. Clear as crystal. I got your face. Everything is on point.
Thank you so
Guys,
much.
please invite people to what? Send it to people. Send people DM. WhatsApp them. Tell them something is happening tonight. Yes, tell me your childhood experience. You know, I stumbled at you when you came to give your testimony in the ministry of Prophet Funkeadetuberu in church, and I was just crying. I didn't know where those tears were coming from because I know where I came from. I knew where it took me from. I knew the kind of life I led before I got to this place. Some of you don't even know that I aborted. The doctor said I can never be pregnant. And I have a medical report to prove that. And one of my friends that, you know, we went to a 60th birthday, they actually told Prophet that she was with me in the hospital while the doctor said, this girl, she can't even carry a baby to term. Today, I'm not the mother of one or two or more than, you know, God has graced me. That tells you something that Jesus is actually a writer of history. So when you were sharing your story, and I remembered what I went through growing up, it's my story, my reality. One day I'll be the one on the show by myself and share some of these things with you that I went through. And my mess has become my message today. So that Sunday, I could not hold my tears. I was just saying, God, thank God for Prophet Funkeadetuberu. Thank God for him allowing God to use him. Thank him for responding to the heavenly mandate. If not, I don't know what would have happened to you. You know how many lives are wasting away because they didn't have a deliverer? I don't want to go into that. I want you to tell me what your childhood experience is like. Because I remember you talked about anger. You were actually intentionally, but when Prophet said this, anger. So it was like, oh, it's anger. But it was more than that. Sexual addiction was seated there. And you shared how you were perverted, polluted by, oh God, I don't want to continue. People are here to listen. Tell me what's your childhood. Just go ahead and I'll do all the listening. If I have to button, I'll button because I'm using your case as a case note, but I will allow you to flow. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much, ma. Thank you, ma. Thank you so much, ma. I really appreciate, ma. It's a privilege for me to be on this program tonight in order to share my past and what has happened so far. I truly appreciate this, ma. I am not underrating this privilege given to me by God and by you. Thank you so much, ma. Thank you, mommy. May God continue to bless you indeed. Thank you, ma. So, my name is Adedapo Ayodeji. Presently, I live in Lagos, and I'm around 32, 33 years presently. So, my childhood, talking about my childhood, I used to live with my parents when they were still together. That was around the last time I checked because we lost my elder sister then. She was my elder sister then. So after our demise, so my parents, they have to separate. I don't know, maybe due to the case or not, but as far as I could remember, my sister, we lost her then. So afterwards, they separated. Then my mom took me. Yes, she took me and my younger brother along after they got separated. So I lived with her. We were staying around Orita Challenge. This was around 1997, 98, 99. So if I describe the place, the streets, there is a renowned man living around the place. Almost everybody that is living closer to the place, they will know where I'm talking about. So we lived there, and my mom was working as a petrol attendant then. The filling station is also around an axis in Ibadan. If I mention the name, the man was a wealthy man during his lifetime as well. So if I mention the name of the filling station, so that I will not be advertising. So we lived together. As in short, I lived with my mom then, and she was trying her best.
How old were you?
Order to.
Let me button a little bit. How old were you at the time when your dad and your mom were separated? How old were you?
Yes, I was around 4 to 5 years old then. I was around
4 to 5 years.
Yes, ma'am. I was around 4 to 5 years old then. Yes, ma'am. So after they separated, my mom took us along, and she was working at a petrol station from 7, I think, yes, from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., let's say. Then she will come back from work in order to take care of us. But I used to have an uncle then. He happens to be the younger brother of my mother. So he lived with us while my parents were still together. So after they separated, he came along and started living with us then. So each time my mother goes to work, at first he behaved like an uncle to me at first. And this is somebody that normally intimidates me. If he shouts, I will run into hiding basically. So if he yell at me, all these things they do in order to intimidate children. So he will do that. I was exactly so. And then the next thing I knew, because he was in secondary school then, He was around the age of 16 to 18 years then. So each time he returned from school, if I mention the name of the school, people will know the place. Anybody that is listening to me or watching me around the world, they will know the place if they are close to the place. So anytime he returned from school, they will go out and get a pornographic videos content. During those times, we are using video cassettes. Video cassettes was in vogue then. So he will got all these pornographic content. He will invite his friend in the room. They will watch. At first, he will lock me outside, but I knew what they were doing then. I knew what they were doing then. So I normally pretended as if I don't know what he was doing. So that was when the thing got started. But afterwards, he will ask me to lie down. He will come in and he will cover my from my head to my back. He will cover me with clothes. He will ask me to lie down, have sex with me. So
anal sex, right?
yeah, yes, he will ask me to lie in a position to be having sex with me anally, but not direct penetration like that. So, but he
He
will
will,
do
at the
it.
end of the day, he will come as well.
Yes, yes. So the thing goes on and on and on and on, but I never mentioned anything to my mother. So anytime my mother comes back from work, he will do all this whatever, what do they normally call this thing? I don't know how to describe it. When you see somebody, you start doing as if you never do anything, you are innocent, you are taking care of the kids and all that. So that's how he normally do. So at a
The
point in
guy
time,
will pretend, as if he's the best uncle ever, taking care
exactly,
of
ma.
the children when mommy was not around, not knowing that
Exactly,
the
ma.
child has been mentally damaged and
Yes,
emotionally damaged.
yes, yes,
Go
ma.
ahead.
So he will have sex with me. He will do everything he wants to do with me, and later on, he will tell me never to say anything to my mother when my mother arrives from work. That's what he will tell me. So I never mentioned anything to my mother. I just kept everything. But whenever my mother comes back from work, she will ask me, she will be trying to relate with me as if she knew that something was happening.
A
But
woman has 38 solid powers. One of them is the power of intuition, perception. Yes, go ahead.
yes, ma. Yes, ma. So she will be like asking me what is happening, what's happened like that. My brother will be around. So I will not be able to talk. Because of intimidation, I will overlook, and because I'm somebody who is quiet and I don't talk, I'm just somebody who is reserved. So I believe he took advantage of that. So he did everything. He did everything that it got to a point. I saw it. I began to see it like this is a normal thing. This is a way of life. But I never knew that a portal has been created in my life then. So that was my encounter with him, which led me into so many things in which
Crisis.
as
Now
yes, ma.
let me come in a little bit here
Yes, ma.
and say this to couples. There is no price that is too high to pay and pay to keep your home for the sake of your children.
Yes, ma.
Some, you may not be able to help it. I don't cry over spilled milk. But I'm saying it for the younger generation coming. If you are not convinced, not only convictions, if you are not ready to murder, don't murder people's lives. Now, this woman had no choice. You don't know. He that wears the shoes don't wear it out. That's why in therapy we don't judge people. But the point is, she had to work for her kids to live.
Yes, ma.
And that opened the door. You can't blame her. You can't tell her not to go and do her job to make sure that the children that I took from my husband's house after losing a child, I want them to be something in life.
Yes.
I don't want to cry. I'm holding my tears. But that tells you something that, oh God, when you raise children, or you are raising children and you are a single parent, please seek therapy. Get a professional help. Seek intervention, because that child is an accident that's about to happen. Send that child to Harvard. Let her become the best doctor. I see doctors that smoke like chimney. I said it last week. I've seen professors that have, they are just, you're wondering, they would rather be a meat seller. Of course, meat selling is the profession, don't get me wrong. But what I'm saying is that you should have chosen a business profession than being a prof, because his professorship does not make sense. Because everything is kept on campus. I've seen a lot of, professors that are exposed and probably even record their voice notes and everything. They have to lose their profession because of where they're coming from. I have a nickname. You must trace it to face it. Erase it and start replacing it. Trace where you are coming from and seek help. The moment, whether you are from a monogamous home or you are from a polygamous home, the moment there is any form of dysfunctionality, you are not normal. Meaning that where your emotional life is not nurtured, we are tripartite being. When you are born again, it is your spirit that is born again. Your soul is not born again. Your body is not born again. Paul said to Christian in 1 Thessalonians 5:23, he said, I pray your spirit, your soul, and the body be preserved blameless unto the coming of the Lord. David said, he makes me to lie down and he restores my soul. In therapy, in counseling, your souls are restored. And I'm using this to tell every parent, join me on the 25th of this month as we get into dynamic parenting webinar. You need to know your child. Now, he made a statement, I can use him to preach for the next 6 months. This particular case note. He said he was quiet. We have some kids that are extroverted in nature. Everything blah 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 blah, blah blah. You don't understand. I just want to make us. I want to relax and laugh. You know what I mean? Those are one set of kids. There are some you can put them in a place they'll be there for a long time. Some are bulldozers. Some would have torn that man's clothes and ready to die because of his personality. Now this is an introverted child who was being traumatized, harassed, assaulted, mentally, emotionally, psychologically, physically, to an extent that he was actually introduced to homosexual acts. Please, how old were you then?
Yes, around that time, I was around 6 to 7. Yes, 6 to 7.
A 7-year-old child.
Yes.
Can you see how the door is open? How the devil opens the door of infidelity, immorality, vices, addictions in the life of a child. Please let me allow you. Go ahead. I'll listen. I'm listening.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
So
after a while, it stopped. But as it immediately stopped, I have seen that thing. I began to see it as a kind of way of life or something it's like I received lecture. It's like I received lecture and the lecturer told me this is the best thing to do. So after that, I used to have a friend then. He happens to be the grandchild of the grandma who owns that house where we were living. So a male child as well. So I started having anal sex with him as well at that point in time. But something inside me told me as time goes on, I tried it 1, 2, I think the second time. Then something inside me said I shouldn't try this thing again. How I knew it was bad, I don't know, but it was written all over my heart. I couldn't say this is This is it. But I stopped.
Meaning that you are marked, your conscience is there, you have
Yes,
the
ma'am.
mark of God, and everybody has
Yes,
the
ma'am.
nature of God on the inside of them. That is the conscience.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Told you. Now,
Yes.
they preyed on him. Hurting people hurt people. Stop telling somebody, why did you do that? And you are beating the flesh. Something damaged this person somewhere. That's why he's hurting another person. Because I see people beating their children. Oh my goodness. You need to hear what I hear on a daily basis. Somebody will beat your child that the child is sleeping around. Excuse me. Have you ever probed into his life or her private life? What happened? Go ahead.
Yes, ma'am.
Just
Thank you,
continue.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So I started doing that along the line. Then I stopped when I noticed that this thing, my conscience has started judging me. So I stopped. I quit. And later on, what the next thing occurrence was that uh there used to be some sisters that lives across all the way beyond our street where we were living. So those sister, she's way older than I was then, and I am my younger brother. So we'll go and stay over there. We'll go and stay over there. I think this one precedes that event. So one thing I noticed was that even the lady who happens to be older than me, she wanted to have sex with me as young as I was then. But what saved me that day was that somebody came in when she was about to. Somebody came in and asked for her mother. So after that event, I left that place. I left. I
Let
called
me
my.
teach. Let me teach a little bit here. There
Yes,
are
ma'am.
3 inlets to sexual addiction. His own was addicted society. We have 3. The second was, now he's not even dealing with the trauma of separation. The first inlet to sexual perversion is the bloodline. If your father commits adultery and you are not careful, the demon of your father is waiting for you. If your mother had 4 of you, for 4 different children, that thing is waiting for you not to stay in a home. That is one inlet, bloodline. I can show you scriptures from Genesis to Revelation. David was a child of one night sleep. So when people get born again, I say, I'm spiritual. I used to wonder, what are they talking about? When you get people born again, don't ask them to join the choir. Don't make them intercessors. Ask them, tell me about where you are coming from. Ask questions, please. Because that's why we don't have revival, we have migration. If the level of churches we have in Nigeria today has the power that we saw in the Acts of the Apostles, there will be no one terrorists. We won't have Boko Haram, we won't have kidnappers, we won't have killers, serial killers, who have unknown gunmen killing people. That is number 1, bloodline. Number 2, trauma. If your dad and your mom were not separated, you will not be vulnerable. So the pain and the shame of separation is there, which is trauma. Then the last one is addictive society. I've said it here, being sexualized as parents. When I was growing up, I'm 60 this year. Hear me, the only form of pornography I know is the Kebe Super, and it's not nude. It's just the shape of a woman. Today, a click away, you're on a porn site. Now, you told us how you were exposed to pornography via CDs. Now, in Nigeria, nothing is censored, so you just how many kids. And the first, oh my God, the first sexual exposure sticks to your brain. And it suits the brain. Go ahead. I need to explain that.
Thank you. So after that, another event occurred. My mother, when I was young, my brain was very, very sharp. So I got a promotion then. So, and my mother, she doesn't want me to lose that ability. So she got a lesson for me so that during the holiday, I will be ahead of the rest of the pupils in the class. So she got me a lesson. So I started at my first day in that place. I already met a lady there, way older than I was as well. She stood at I can remember everything. I can still see the picture of the place, the name of I have forgotten the name of the uncle in charge of that place, but if I describe the place, everybody living in that place, they will know that this is the place. It's around Orita Challenge. So immediately my mother sent me there. I think she has already paid for the uncle. So I was about to start the lesson. My first point of contact was that lady. When I met the lady, God is my witness. When I met the lady, she told me, I asked for the uncle. She said he's not around. She said I should come in. Meanwhile, there was something like a store that they were not using there. She told me to enter. I asked her what would I do inside. As young as I was, she was way older than I was then. So she told me I should enter. I said, what would I be doing on? She said, okay. She said I should just enter. Then the next thing I saw her, that was my first time I saw condom in my life. That was the first time of seeing it. She held it in her hand like this, that this is where everybody here, they meet themselves. I looked at her and she blocked my way from going out of the whole building. I wanted to run, but she blocked my way intentionally. Then another person coming, immediately another person coming asking for the uncle. Then I escaped. So it was like those things kept on following themselves ever since I had.
So you were bombarded back to back just to destroy your sexuality and truncate your life.
Yes,
and you know the bad part of it is your mother would have said, oh, my son is intelligent, he's so dynamic, he's getting double promotion, not knowing that this is an accident that is about to happen in the future.
Yes, ma'am.
Just imagine, I have a lot of people I'm helping to deal with HIV, you know, because they have been traumatized, having HIV, HIV positive. And what is the essence of being continue? Just continue.
Yes, thank you. So when I got back home, I remember I told my mom I don't want to go to that lesson again. She asked me why. I said no. I said I don't like the place. She asked me. I said I don't like the place. Then she stopped. She got another place for me eventually. So as time goes on,
you know, I appreciate your mom. Despite the fact that she's going through a lot, despite the fact that she has to carry all the burdens alone, she was still sensitive in a way. But because she was not trained on how to raise children, and that's why I'm insisting on dynamic parenting webinar. Don't think everything is about he has to go to school, he must have his grades, he must come out with a good grade to get to the best university. No, your child must be total and complete. It's beyond academics. Now, the joy that this man is having is, okay, you don't like the place, anything you like, my son, I will do it. I'll go all the way for you.
Yes,
go ahead.
Yes. So after she got another place for me, I started going there. My result in school was fine and nothing got affected. But the major problem started immediately she remarried, because she had to. All this thing I'm saying tonight and the one I said previously, up till now, I never explained anything to her. Even my dad, I never said anything to them.
Let me share my own. Wait, my story, my reality.
Yes, ma'am.
I remember when I was in class 3, I got pregnant before I became wild. And my mother just said, no, you can't be pregnant. The pregnancy was 7 months before my mother, people in the neighborhood were the one that was saying, this girl, you know, I mean, I don't have tummy naturally. This girl, she's sleeping and you know, throwing saliva. So it was then they discovered that my pregnancy was 7 months. As soon as she discovered, she told one of my cousins to do an abortion for me. A 7-month pregnancy is not abortion, is induction. After 3 days of being induced, giving pitocin, I don't know what they give now, but I still remember. My cousin led me to the toilet to flush that boy. He was still breathing. And my cousin turned and started sleeping with me with blood till I left that village. I'm telling you my own story, my reality. And guess what? About 10, 15 years ago, I became a celebrity. Everybody, funkeadetuberu. And the news, Tribune came to, do an interview with me. And I just didn't tell everything. I just said when my parents divorced, blah, blah, blah. And the family took their meeting together and went to my mom and said, Funke said a lot of things. So my mother went to look for the Tribune. They have Tribune in archives there. It's not like now that you can check it online. And I told my mom, I said, do you know that I couldn't say anything? That was what brought this out of me. Me, I'm going to tell you my own story, my reality one day on this program. It will be me and me alone. You don't know what I went through in life to become this. The devil does not fight what he does not fear. That's the truth. Yes. Who cares to fight what he does not fear? He doesn't fight what he does not fear. Look at me today. Look at what came out of me. Look at my life. Go ahead, please.
So I never explained anything to her, and the major problem started when she remarried, because I normally see one man who will come to her and but she remarried, in short. So after that, they sent me to our younger brother, who happens to be although my mother was the only one in which our grandma gave birth to before she divorced and married another person. So the other person the grandma married has so many other children. So the one they sent me to live with happens to be the third born. So after I got there, my mother took along, because she remarried, she took along my younger brother. So I was all alone. Then they sent me to go and live with the uncle. I suffered there. That's where I discovered what suffering is. So, but I thank God today, because the training they gave me was a training on how to be a vagabond. But I appreciate God because of the kind of nature that I have. So as time goes on, they have 2 children, 2 daughters. Blessed be their memory, because they are late now. Both of the daughters, they are late now. So I started having sex with these children as well.
Child.
The same position that my uncle normally, the way he does to me, I started doing the same thing to these children as well. The elder one first, the younger one second. So the thing, it has finally eluded my mind that this thing that I'm doing is very, very wrong. It has left my mind. I don't have, the conscience is leaving me then. So I continued. They never knew. I continued for so long. They never knew, until the maltreatment that I was receiving got out of hand. Because I have to go and sell orange. I will hawk orange from Orita. I will go to almost extreme end of New Garage, down to Podo, down to all those places close to Top 1 area. Then I will trek back. So I will hawk banana, because if I go to school in the morning, from there they will give me 10 naira for my breakfast and maybe lunch or whatsoever. So if I come back from school, they'll give me 10 naira to go and get food. Then once I close from my uncle's shop, then I'll go to that woman's shop. I'll go and sell orange there. If I have to hawk, I will hawk. I will come back. They will carry beans for me. They will give me food. Then I will go back home and cook before the woman get back home. So all those things. So sometimes there are so many events, but I found it. So it started. My brain started. I couldn't retain my memory anymore. If I read, if I study, my brain was very sharp before. I couldn't digest anything. I couldn't If I read, I will just forget. So as time goes on, the suffering was so much that I could not be able to bear it anymore. That when my grandma came back from the village and some of the children that she gave birth to, they had to settle fights in between I and the wife of that my uncle. So later on, around 2000 and I think 2004, 2004, 2000 and no, let's say 2002, 2003, 2004. So I left the place because the suffering was so much. I had to leave. I carried my bag. I remember because I went to a uni high school. I want to be specific. I went to a uni high school at Orita Challenge in Ibadan. So one evening like that, I wanted to run away from home. So I carried my bag. I packed my clothes. I carried everything that I'm no longer living here. But the torture was too much. There was a day I remember, I can never forget that day in my life. I broke a frame. I broke a frame. The frame contains the picture of the grandpa. So I broke it. When I broke it, when the man came back from work, he beat me with tiara, brush, everything his hand could find. He beat me and he made mark all over my body. So the thing was traumatizing for me. I couldn't, and this thing, it wasn't as if I broke it intentionally. It was, this child's play. I couldn't relate with my mates because of intimidation. If other children are playing around and I will just stay on my own. Because of the traumas that I received, the punishment and everything that I received. It was so painful for me because I couldn't express myself. The only person that I loved was no longer there, which was my mother. So it was like I was alone.
Wait. Let me butt in here.
Yes, ma'am.
I know some women, the moment there's a little bit of conflict, I want to leave, I'm going. You are age 35, 40. You want to go and remarry. To who? And you have children in that home. You want to go and remarry. Dump your children at the mercy of every dick, Tom and Harry, any. Oh God, I want to keep my words actually.
Yes,
if there's no price that is too high to pay to keep that marriage, stay there. It's not all the time you should experience pleasure. If life gives you a lemon, turn it to a lemonade, add sugar. Because of the joy that was set before you, he endured the cross and he despised the shame. There's a dimension of life that when you sit down to count the cost, you will tell yourself, no. The price is too high. Because I wish your mom, now don't get me wrong, sometimes it's not easy. And that is why counseling and therapy is important. Let me say this to you. Most second, third marriages hardly works. The devil you did not conquer in that one, you can't conquer in the second one. Take it to the bank. Get counsel. If you want to remarry, fine. Look at the odds. Look at everything. Let a professional give you the prognosis of, okay, this is what will happen. This is how this person is. So we even like to you that my wife died of probably 100 cases of later the person now discovered that it wasn't actually sickness that killed the woman. It was depression that made the woman lose her mind, and she ended up in a mental home. At the end of the day, she dies. Everything is good when you are saying the story. Be wise. Parents, be wise. Do counseling. Pay the price. Pay the price. Listen to your counselor. Listen to your therapist. And please don't go and meet any junk person. You can't give what you don't have. I've told somebody, if you are going to give me a cloth, I will look at the one you are wearing. I changed my slogan. I will check your wardrobe if you did not borrow that clothes to party. It's not everybody that can help you. Some of you living abroad, you are going to look for a therapist that is white. Is it the same culture? Is it the same religion? Is it the same belief? Is the same sex mind? No. Our culture is deep. It's not the same. As a matter of fact, biblical culture, when you are married, look at the case of that woman, she's my woman. I always start with her. Tamar in Genesis 38. If I don't finish this week, I'll continue next week. This is deep. This is a case note. It's an institution to explore. And I don't want to just talk story. No. All my story, my reality is for teaching and training. Somebody is married. Your husband is died. They now say, okay, bring another. Okay, come and marry the junior brother. Is that not what happened in Genesis 38? The man was doing withdrawal method. He didn't want to raise a child for Tamar. He didn't want Tamar to have a child. For him, God killed him again. The man of the husband, the father-in-law said, Judah, I said, go to your father's house and remain a widow there. So Sheila is old. And he knew he was not going to keep that child out. If that one had a counselor, he would have said, no problems. The first husband is dead. I'm not becoming in my culture, I don't want to marry your brother. Let me be me. Let me go. And it was God that was killing those people. Mothers hearing me, be careful. Father, careful. There's no sin in going for counseling. Oh, it's expensive. Okay, it is actually. God forbid. If you are diagnosed cancer now, as I'm talking to you, and they say chemo is 1 million naira, people that love you will raise the money or you die. It's the same. It's as worse as the same. Go ahead.
Yes, wow. Thank you, ma. So, I remember that day I packed my bag, packed my clothes, put everything inside. Then on my way, I passed through, there's a place they call Avians. Avians is at the back of a Uni High School. If you are along the way to Fresh FM. So it's very, very close to Fresh FM, but you have to cross the road to the other side. So as I stepped outside, the first car I waved down, then my integrated science teacher was there inside the car. So as he saw me, he saw the way I packed my things, packed my bag. He started having conversation with the driver. They started having some conversation, but I was so angry on that day, I couldn't. All the questions they were asking me, I couldn't respond. I didn't answer them until I got to where I was going. So the man, they had some exchange with the driver. So the man followed me. He said he wants to see where I was going. So the man followed me. I took him to the place where my mother remarried to. Actually, the worst was that she got married into another polygamous family. She got married to a man.
I've said it. I'm saying it. It's the same. I hope people will just hear my heart today and not go from fry pan to fire. Please continue.
Yes, so I got there. The man followed me inside. When my mother saw me, she collected my bag. This that I explained. So the man followed my mother inside. He said I should stay outside. They discussed at length. So up till now, I never asked what they discussed or whatever the case may be. So up till now. So the man left. He wished me good luck. So I started living with my mother from there. I started living with her. It was only because I was a kid, I believe right now. It was only because I was a kid then. I haven't gotten this maturity something. Then that was why I stayed there. That place is not somewhere I could stay. It's not somewhere I should stay. So I stayed with her, living with her, and from there I graduated. I finished my secondary school there. But the point was that this is the place where she married is like a war zone. It's like a war zone. This is a polygamous family. Somebody who has already married like 2 wives before. And I was there again. My younger brother was there with her. So she had to conform herself to selling fufu. So she was doing this thing there when the suffering, because suffering started in another form for her there, and she has to conform herself into selling that stuff. So after a while, things became unbearable for her. But let me digress a bit about myself. Even the children that I met there, that happens to be females, these children, I started having sex with them as well. I found myself having this same thing with them as well. I did it for a while and the thing wasn't unbearable for me. I stopped because my conscience arose and started judging me. So I stopped. As I stopped, I still have to leave my mother's place again. I left my mother's place again because when the trouble starts, my father had to, I think he sent someone to my mother that I should come. So I went there, I started living with my father. But my father has remarried a long time. He remarried. Yes, he has remarried a long time. There are some, it's not really possible for me to arrange it sequentially, but I will try as much as possible to fix all these things together. I
No, I'm
just want
having a part
to
two of
let
this.
my,
I'll
yes,
do
ma'am.
part two next week. I have a girl that was supposed to come. She's in the US. She'll come up her way. There must be a part two of this. It's not, it's life.
Yes,
It's your reality, is your story. And the
yes,
reason why I'm bringing it to the next episode is because I've not even asked you the effect. We are still looking at the sexual perversions, the escapee, the
yes,
amount of lives that were damaged by one person that is influential,
yes,
damaged. That's
yes,
what a lot of people don't even know. With all, you don't know, it's like you are carrying the anointing on the
yes,
negative
ma'am. Yes,
side.
yes, ma'am.
So everywhere you go, you
Yes,
are,
I started spreading it. Yes,
it's
ma'am.
like having a virus.
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. So I left the place, then I returned to my father's house where I left before, because I lived with my father for a long time. After the divorce, I lived with my father. I think it was around holiday when I was in primary 3. Then my father came, asked me to come and live with him. Then I left there because I was missing my father. Yes, I lived with him, but he has remarried then. But the woman he married, I think the devil is more nice than that woman, because the woman was so wicked. She was extremely wicked and dangerous to me, and very, very hostile. So just to cut the long story short, when I lived with my father then, my father would go to work in the morning. I'm just driving this back a little bit so that I can fix things together. So when I lived with my father then, I said I don't want to go to my mother, but I just want to stay with my father because I missed him. But if my father goes to work in the morning, this woman will, the way she treats me, in fact, she will wake me up to go and fetch water like almost around 4:30 a.m. in the morning. Only me. I'll go and fetch water, giving me a very heavy drawer for me to draw. As I'll be drawing from the well, I'll be looking left and right because I
That,
wasn't bold enough. This is at one day, one of the events that I will never forget in my life, she asked me to spread the bed. I would have lost my eye, this eye by now. I just thank God for his grace. So she asked me to lay the bed for her and my father to sleep, because my father was on afternoon shift. He's working at a place they call Black Horse. Then the company, yes, ma'am. So the company is no longer functioning now, but I don't know. So he works there. He will come back from the afternoon shift by night. So he comes back in the night. Then the woman told me to lay the bed. So I laid the bed, but I think there are some particles on the bed. So I slept on the floor. I was on the floor. I was sleeping. I already covered myself. I covered myself with clothes, with this wrapper that my mother gave me. So this woman became angry and vicious. She took spoon, the edge of a spoon like this, and she stabbed me on the face, very closer to my eye like this. It remains just an inch for the edge of the spoon to enter and removed my eye. I wept bitterly because the thing was so painful for me. The spoon, you know, all these spoons that they normally produce back in the days, very, very strong.
Very
So
strong. It's not
yes, ma. So she stabbed me with it. It's almost just a little bit. When I yelled, my father stood up and he started beating her. In fact, it was a very, very serious experience for me. I didn't have any motherly care, nothing. Ringworm ate all my head. Ringworms. If I was scratching my head like this, all the dandruffs, they will be coming down like this. It was very, very bad. It was very, very bad. Very, very bad. So that event led for me to go back to my mother. Then after I returned back to my mother, then my mother remarried. Then I had to go and live with my uncle again. So
the
after,
same uncle that
yes,
molested you at the beginning of your life.
No, this uncle happens to be the third born of the grandmother. The one I was talking about that molested me happens to be like the fifth born because they have many children. So that one happens to be a
like
younger brother to him.
In the family.
Yes, ma. Yes. So that event, when my mother remarried, after I left my father, my mother remarried. I stayed with my mother. She remarried. Then they sent me to go and live with my uncle. Then my mother took along my younger brother to where she went to go and remarry. So after the suffering and everything was too much for me, then I left that place. Then I went to go and live with my mother. So after suffering and affliction started raining on my mother over there, I left there again. They sent me to my father again. Then I lived with my father till I graduated from secondary school. But when my yes, ma'am.
Wait. I'm coming to the part 2 of this. It can't end here. It's not necessary because there are so many things that you don't even know that has happened to you.
Yes,
you were dancing to a music you don't play. Who is playing the rhythm? You have become a roaming. They are now throwing you here and there.
Like a ball. Yes, ma. Yes, ma.